got in to see this one. It took me a little while. This is like the third time I've tried to see this movie, and just circumstances or other scheduling issues came up, and I was unable to get in. So I said I'm seeing this one today, no matter what, and I did. And I'm not quite sure where to begin with this film. It's definitely an emotional film. It's it hit me emotionally ways I didn't quite expect. This is another example of kind of like Reminiscence, where the movie you got is not necessarily the movie that was advertised. It's a very different film from what you see in the trailers or just kind of the basic write-ups, which is understandable. That's a good thing. But I don't think I was quite ready for the film that it actually was. So what exactly are we looking at here? Well, the basic story you probably know from the trailers. It's fairly pat and straightforward. So Matt Damon plays a guy from Stillwater, Oklahoma, whose daughter, played by Abigail Breslin, has been in jail in France for the last 5 years for supposedly killing her girlfriend. He, of course, believes her innocent. She says she's innocent, and he keeps flying to Paris for visiting days. Well, basically, while he's there, this most recent trip, some new evidence comes to light, or she thinks she has some new evidence. Her lawyer won't hear it, so Matt Damon takes it upon himself to start investigating the case. Now, that's what the trailer kind of has you believe the entire movie is. But honestly, most of the trailer encompasses about, I'd say, the first third of the movie. The first third of the movie is Matt Damon basically chasing down leads and trying to find this missing witness or missing suspect. And, it's all very pat. It's all very, one of the other critics online calls these things like dad wish fulfillment, kind of like Taken was one of those movies that a dad goes and saves the day and is proven right, or you shouldn't have gone to that other country, or you shouldn't have done this, I was right and dad will have to come save you. And that's what it kind of leads you to believe the first part of the movie is. But then, again, at about a third of the way through, the movie takes a really sharp turn. Now, in his investigation there in the early part of the film, he befriends a French woman and her daughter, just kind of through happenstance. And when the trail goes cold, he ends up staying in Paris so he can be closer to his daughter, even though she's mad at him. And in that time, he builds a life with this little French family. He forms another family, essentially. And we see that he's happy. He's not happy his daughter's in jail, but he's taking on responsibility. He's being a good, for lack of better terminology, a good stepfather or bonus dad to the little girl. He's a good friend and then a good boyfriend to the mother. So basically, the daughter likes both of them. It's basically a thing of, look, he's formed a happy world. And then, so that's like the middle of the film. And then towards the end, the film takes another sharp turn where by chance he comes across the missing suspect again, and now it is how far he is going to go and how much danger he's going to put his new happiness into in order to possibly free his daughter. How much are you willing to risk? How much are you willing to lose? Kind of thing. So the movie is, again, much more emotional than I had originally given it credit for, that I thought it was going to be. As I mentioned, I thought it was going to be just one of those, dad saves the world kind of wish fulfillment films. And I remember as I was watching the first third of it, just thinking, okay, it's okay. Matt Damon's Matt Damon's a great actor. Abigail Breslin is a great actor. So they're doing, there's great chemistry with him and the the woman and kid. But I kept thinking, I wish they would just kind of stick with him and the chemistry between him and the woman and the kid, because that was when I was really engaged in the story, And I remember thinking, God, I wish that's kind of what the whole movie was. And then, the minute I thought that, the film shifts and the movie becomes about that. And you become really engaged in this relationship. All the actors do a great job. As I said, Matt Damon is just a phenomenal actor. And that is one of the things that really hit me about Matt Damon as I watched this. I always knew he was a good actor, but really, you look at his body of work, and you see the different types of characters he has played in his career. And, he really is one of our best actors. I truly believe that. He deserves an acting Oscar someday. Maybe not for this movie, but someday. And he just has a way of making this guy, Bill, just sympathetic, powerful, humble. He's a little bit of a cliche, but not completely, especially in the opening third of the film. They really lay on the America kind of ness of him, yes ma'am, and let's pray, and yes, I own guns, and da-da-da-da-da. They really try to hype up, the hillbilly saving his daughter from the evil foreigners kind of thing, and then you realize that's not who this character is, and that's not what the movie is about. His best scenes are not necessarily the scenes with Abigail Breslin, but the scenes with the little girl, who's the actor's name I do not know, but the character's name is Maya. Those are his best scenes, and the two of them, it is really touching to see him develop this surrogate father kind of relationship with this little girl, especially since it's established that he was absent a lot from his real daughter's life, hence why he is so driven to kind of get her out of this prison cell. I gotta say though, and I don't know much about, I'm sweating, that's why I keep doing this. It's my Dennis Miller impression. Sorry, it's bloody hot out. It's Tennessee. Anywho, I'm sure you all wanted to know that. Anyway, I gotta say though, one of the things that struck me as really funny is, I don't know much about the correctional facilities or prison systems of other countries, but I have to say, just from the little bit they show, you definitely want to get arrested in France, because I guess they let you just wear whatever clothes in prison, you don't have you don't have a uniform or anything like that. You can send your laundry out to be done. You said your family can come and collect your laundry. They had a scene where they let her out. They let Abigail Breslin out for a day. She had a day pass to go reacclimate them to society. It's wait, what? You're arrested for murder. You've been tried and convicted for murder, and they're just going to let you, okay, you have one day. It's okay, and I'm, again, not judging. I mean, our prison system's not perfect. But yeah, it was one of those things I think you might have gotten the better end of the deal here as opposed to being arrested in another country. However, I digress. But it is a film that is a real bait and switch. And as such, I mean, I can only say personally, but I really felt for him. I really felt for Matt Damon's character. And the personal pain he was in with his daughter being locked up, and then that joy he felt having created this new surrogate family, and then you really were afraid for him when he starts making less than intelligent choices in an attempt to get her out. It's a really masterful performance by Matt Damon, which again, not surprising, he is a phenomenal actor. And two, it's a real nod to slow burn storytelling. I'll often on this show, one of my favorite critiques is always the pacing. Either the pacing is too fast or the pacing is too slow. Honestly, I get tired of saying it. And, but I really feel this one, while it did drag a little bit in certain places, this is a real testament to putting things on a slow burn. letting the characters get established, letting the world get established, letting the situation breathe so that we come to care about him. We care about the other characters that his life has touched. And therefore, when things go to hell, it's all the more meaningful to us. So it's really masterful how the directing is done and the screenplay is done, because it's very easy for things like that to get into it's dragging, or you feel like the movie has kind of lost its way, you're just kind of meandering around. And this film, the minute you start thinking that, that's the minute things shift up. You know, the minute I start thinking, okay, this is very pat, very boring, boy, I wish they would have stuck with him and the family the whole time, now that's a much more interesting movie, that's what it did. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you're just enjoying this little family, and you're enjoying their lives, and enjoying them being together, and you're just like, but then you're like, okay, where is this movie going? What are we doing here? You know, are we, like, how is this movie going to end? Is it just is she just gonna last out her sentence and then get released and that's it? Like, you know, what is happening here? And the minute you start thinking that, that's when it shifts up again. And we go into this next part, and there's some genuinely worrisome moments where you're really worried for him and the family. Again, just very, very well done, well crafted. That's not easy to do. I also want to give a shout out, and I am very sorry. Again, this is another wonderful reason, aside from the fact she's the most wonderful person in my life and I love her, why it's always good to have Becca here for these movies, because she remembers these people's names. The French woman that he meets, the actor's name is Claudette something. She's a French actress, and I was checking out her IMDb page, and it's primarily French film, so nothing I would know her from. She has just an amazingly soft presence, and that's not a knock, that's a compliment, that she has a real screen presence, but it's not an overpowering one. The problem with A-list actors like Matt Damon is that the personality of Matt Damon can tend to override the film. You know, you get to a point where it's, well, that's not whatever character, that's Matt Damon, you know. And as such, leading ladies opposite folks like that have really got to walk a thin tightrope between matching that star power and charisma, but still keeping everything grounded. And she does this with, you know, poise and perfection. You can tell she's a well-schooled and well-honed actor. It's a really great performance by her. Abigail Breslin, one of those wonderful child actors who was good when she was young and has become even better as she's grown up. I like that, you know, what's weird is that I like that I don't like her character. You know, I like the fact that almost every moment with her is a moment where I just do not like you. Which is an interesting choice to make, also considering the fact that she is the emotional drive of the film. She's the whole reason Matt Damon's there. So, but yeah, the character is just a very unlikable person. You know, it's weird to say that as a compliment, but it is kind of a. But yeah, Abigail Breslin, like I said, is one of those child actors who managed so far. Knock on wood. I'm hoping. You always get very nervous saying things like that, because you never know what the news is going to turn up tomorrow. But she's one of those young actors that was able to grow up and doesn't seem to have any real problems, and her talent has only expanded as she's grown. She's taken on new roles and is, you know, becoming a powerhouse in her own right. She always was a powerhouse, but now an even better one. And she and Matt Damon have some real powerful scenes together. So yeah, there's a lot of good going on in this movie, and like I say, I like that it's a bait and switch. I like that it is not the movie I was promised in the trailer. I like that it's actually a much more interesting and involved character piece, as opposed to has another dad saves the day, you know, mystery falsely accused in another country kind of by the numbers film. I appreciate that there's actually a lot more going on here. And yet, all that being true, there's something about this movie that I don't quite like. Because I'm trying to think of the final grade, and I know what the final grade is going to be. But if you ask me why, what is keeping it from kind of breaking through the upper echelon, I can't really put my finger on it. Because it is a very well done film. The only thing I can really come up with, and this is such a shitty thing to kind of knock points off for, is that, one, it is a bit long. It does meander for a while. And I think as much as I, a minute ago, was saying that I liked the pacing and liked the slow burn, I do think we could have shaved a couple of minutes off here and there. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the hypocrisy of what I've just said. The only other thing that was really kind of getting me as I was watching this is I don't think I would ever watch it again. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it's one of those movies that it's like I've seen it once. I don't really have any real desire to see it again. So I don't know, what that is. And again, I'm not sure if that's a positive or a negative, because I left this film feeling the emotional drain that the character had gone through, which is what you're supposed to feel. But I don't know if this not wanting to see it again is a question of, are you afraid to feel that way again, or are you afraid that you're not going to feel that again because it's a one-time punch film, and seeing it multiple viewings, you're not going to get that same connection? I don't have an answer. And I wish that I had a better answer for why this film is kind of, there's a gap between me and this film. Again, one of the drawbacks of doing these reviews right after I see the movie is I don't really have time to contemplate. Usually, like, by the time I get to the end of the year and the end of the year top lists and bottom lists, I've had a little time to contemplate some of these things. So by then I might have a better explanation for you. But for right now, all I can say is that it's a good movie, but there's some kind of disconnect for me. Just a little one. I still enjoyed the film. I was emotionally involved in the film. I was along for the emotional ride, but there's something in it that just kept me from fully going, yes, A+, we love this movie. So, with that in mind, and since I have no other insight to offer as to why, I guess let's just get to the point here. So, final grade for Stillwater. I'm going a B+ on this one. B+. Again, very good, excellent acting, love the bait and switch, love the emotional ride it took in the slow burn filmmaking and storytelling of it, but there's just something that's keeping me from fully going into the A's. I don't know what it is. So, sorry, I'm not the best critic in the world. I wish I was, but this is the best advice or the best explanation I can offer you. So I do recommend seeing this movie. I highly recommend it. Catch it while it's still available. Kind of an anticlimactic review. I acknowledge that, but sometimes you don't get the answer. Sometimes you have to just make do with the facts that you have. The good lesson for life. So thank you for joining me. Hope everyone is doing well. We'll keep bringing these to you as long as movies are around. And as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.